Hey everybody, today is January 5th and I'm reading through the Bible in a year and I'm hoping you'll join me and read through it with me. So today I am still in Genesis, chapter 11 verses 1 through chapter 13 verse 4, and New Testament is Matthew chapter 5 verses 1 through 26, and Psalms chapter 5 verses 1 through 12, and Proverbs chapter 1 verses 24 through 28. So yesterday was still on the flood story, with everybody coming off the ark and then starting to spread through the earth. Well, today it's still talking about the generations of Noah's children and where they ended up, and at one point they are starting to get together and build things, and God's not liking it that much, so he comes down and gives them different languages and starts to scatter them across the earth. He sees that if they continue with all being able to speak the same language, then they will be able to do anything they set their mind to. So he, like I said, he's gave them different languages so they couldn't understand each other, and that area where that happened was called Babel. And then also towards the end, in chapter 12 and the beginning of chapter 13 is where Abraham, not quite Abraham yet, just Abram, comes into the picture, and it starts his story. And the New Testament is when Jesus is really starting to take off in his ministry. Matthew chapter 5 verses 1 through 26, starting with verse 2, they went up onto a mountainside so they could start talking to the masses of people that are coming to be preached to, and they want to learn from him and be healed. So verse 2 is, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I'm going to read verses 4 through 11. So on 4, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sakes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. So some of these verses, I know I have heard them quite a lot, especially like, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I've heard that one. If you're persecuted for God's sake, you'll receive the kingdom of heaven. I've heard that in many different forms and many different translations. So it's pretty much Jesus is laying the groundwork for what he wants people to know. So then also we're getting into the Psalm chapter 5 verses 1 through 4. And it's got a lot like crying out to the Lord for help, and and trying to show what the heart of God is. For like verse 4, for thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. Verse 5, the foolish shall not stand in thy sight, thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Verse 7, but as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. And verse 8, lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. And when I was reading towards the end of this, there's a lot of political stuff going on at the moment. And sorry, my lights are like really bright. I'm not used to it. And I kind of think I wish that we could share these for them to gain wisdom and understand what they're doing to our country right now. But to me, it just speaks to me about the situation. So verse 10 says, destroy thou them, O God. Let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. Oh, I missed verse 9 that led it into that after the verse 8, which is to lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. Verse 9 is, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. It's like I don't know, to me that speaks of a lot of politicians. They'll say one thing and they don't mean it, or they know they can't possibly get things done. They try, some of them, but some of them just say it to get your vote. And that's what spoke to me about that in our situation right now, being this is 2021 and we're still don't have a president at this point, as far as I'm concerned. And that is my opinion. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. So the Proverbs for today, I'm going to actually read out of the English Standard Version. Because I have called and you refuse to listen. But wait, let's go back before I talk about that. Yesterday was kind of talking about wisdom and asking for wisdom and what wisdom is trying to tell us, trying to get our attention. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? Now today we're starting at verse 24. So 23 is, if you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you. And so 24 starts, because I have called and you refuse to listen. This is like the other side of it. If you don't listen to wisdom, if you don't ask for wisdom, if you don't heed what wisdom is telling you, this is what will come of it. Because I have called and you refuse to listen, have stretched out my hand and no one has heeded, because you have ignored all my counsel and would have none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. And tomorrow is verse 29, but I'm going to read it anyways. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. And we kind of heard that at the beginning of this, because they did not choose the fear of the Lord. That's kind of, God's kind of trying to tell us we need to have respect for him and his awesomeness. Anyways, that's about all I have for today. I just want to thank you for watching, and I hope you'll read along with me as I continue to go over these shortly, the short video every day. I'm not a clergy or anything like that. I don't have any training. It's just from my own reading and study myself. Um, I'm working through it. Like I said in the beginning, I haven't read it in a very long time. Some things that I remember, and other things it's like, oh wow, that was like totally different than what I remember, or I didn't know that part. So I just think it's really interesting when you go back through it at different times in your life and you can gain different understanding. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and I appreciate it. And read along with me, make a comment. Let's have a conversation. Good night.